and each one is an out projection of this thought. And so each one is more aware of the infinite intelligent thought that is occurring below the conscious surface of awareness all the time. And so any belief that one is not intelligent, that one doesn't know enough, that one's not smart enough or clear enough, that one doesn't have enough information, all self-concept or ideas that one is stupid or ignorant or innocent or is lacking in some way, is all erased by the recognition that this infinite intelligence is now and always thinking and is present in subjective thought within each one. And therefore each one is more, infinitely more than they could ever consciously imagine. Each one has present within them and in them and all around them this infinite mind that knows all and that thinks and creates that which it thinks. And with this as the substance, with this as the understanding, as the structure, the foundation upon which each one's personality arises, each one is now choosing to be consciously more aware of the mystery, of the magnitude of power that is present within them always. Each one is more aware of the thinking of the divine that is thought in ways that is never conscious thought. And so each one is now aware of all the infinite planes and modes that this divine thinker is thinking, that it is present in the trees, it is present in the air between each one, it is present in the stars, in the void, in the black holes, it is present within each one. And all that it knows about itself everywhere in the universe is actually right where each one is. And so there is nothing that the infinite thinker is knowing that is not being thought right where each one is. This is what is available to each one. And this moment, each one is now expanded in awareness of the intelligence that is present and operating within them, but is also expanded in use of this infinite intelligence, so that each one doesn't have to know consciously every single little detail in order to feel secure. Each one can know that there is present within them something that does know every little detail. And its desire is to have each one, as well as everything else, enjoy their lives completely, have the greatest freedom, have the most joyous experience of love and of peace, of being fully supported in every way, and of experiencing the joy of this activity of creation of this all-thinking mind. And so this is what is present, and each one is more aware of it, and in that greater awareness, calling upon it, so that each one is able to say, there is something within me that knows, and therefore I know that I am that I am. With this awareness, each one is experiencing more guidance with greater clarity and peace than he or she has ever experienced so far, so that each one knows, without a complete conscious understanding, each one knows that he or she is always in the right place at the right time, saying and doing the right thing with the right people for the highest and the greatest good of all, which always of necessity must include the greatest good of each one. Each one knows this and acts with this awareness. And so as a result, each one is experiencing a successful life, always in the right place at the right time with the right people, saying and doing the right thing for the highest and the greatest good of all. This is a done deal, and each one is able to be aware of it and accept it and trust it and stand upon it and act with all of the authority that this realization and conviction gives one, which is confidence, which is peace, which is a freedom and a peace of mind to experience joy, to simply relax and not worry or fear, but to simply relax and to be fully present, enjoying what is there and contributing that which each one is guided to give, and to know that something wonderful is being co-created around them and in them and by them, and that each one's participation in this activity of life's creation is total. It is positive. Each one knows that he or she is always a blessing to the world, to others, to themselves, to the creativity of the divine. And so each one is fully engaged in the joyous, happy, and loving experience of giving all that is guided to them to give, happily, contentedly, successfully. So all of the human worries and struggles and gotta-dos and questions, as well as self-doubting, is just vanished. Any belief that one is not good enough is just, it's evaporated in the realization that all of the infinite mind is present. And so that activity of the human being of comparing or judging, gone, evaporated, vanished. Each one is free forever of that and able to, with peace of mind, relationships and circumstances, as well as body, each one is able to simply be present and give that which he or she is being given to give, and to enjoy it, to enjoy this great and glorious life, to enjoy each and every moment of it in everything that is happening in one's world. And so each one's conscious thought is more aware of being guided to think positively, successfully, happily, to be able to be in a state of positive anticipation of greater good, to be filled with, ooh, what is next? And to fully enjoy and be grateful for all that is given, and to know that that which is coming is going to be marvelous and wonderful and far beyond anything that anyone has known so far. And so this is the new activity of each one's thinking process, because this infinite mind, each one recognizes is present. Each one is able to relax the activity of that conscious mind to just be thinking what in each and every moment, what is necessary for it to think, and to have below it in that personal use of the subjective mind to have an experience of confidence, of faith, of trust, of having that wonderful belief that the universe and this world and other people are friendly, and that everyone and everything is for the greater good of each one personally, as well as the greater good of all. And so each one is knowing a peace, a restfulness, a relaxation that produces an experience of living that is so much more successful, healthier, so much more joyous, so much more peaceful and free, an experience of living that has relationships that are so much more wonderful and harmonious and fun than anyone has ever known so far. And with this expanded experience of living, each one is also aware that even this expanded experience of enjoyment of living is just the beginning of even more wonderful expansion of enjoyment in living to come. This is the thinking of the divine thought united with each one's agreement in conscious thought as well as in unconscious belief. And so I now direct that infinite law that what it does is change that unconscious belief. I now direct that law to change the unconscious beliefs of each one, so that this greater experience of enjoying the infinite mind and all that goes with it is easier, is more present, more of a normal activity, and more of a wonderful experience. And each one is having more gratitude about all this and this gift of life than ever before. This is the truth. I am grateful that this is the truth. I release this word to the law. It's done. I'm grateful it's done, and so it is. Goodness, and she's present too. All right, so let's hear from Reverend Rich.
I'm opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
And so let's take a moment and be aware of what we desire to receive, and then be open to it, to claim it, that you shall receive this greater good or the fulfillment of that which is in your heart, that it's now tangible. There's no delay, there's no need to wait, there's no process for it to go through, that you just claim your good right now. And let that be on the banquet table, and allow now that law of infinite mind to do what it does, which is create the fulfillment of that for us. So let's do that now. And so it is.
I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. I am opening, my heart is ready to receive.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Princeton. I'm Stefanie Lachenauer. I'm a practitioner here at the center. And we are, yay! It's still exciting. We are a loving, healing, and inclusive community which teaches and practices the principles of science of mind for the well-being and spiritual growth of ourselves and the world. And so we are up to all sorts of amazing, fun, good things. And November 21st, which is the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we are going to be having another gratitude potluck. It'll be a little tailgate outside. It's going to be fabulous. Susan Neat will be helping us with some more details coming up. So get ready, save the date, mark your calendar. The second exciting new thing happening is this Wednesday, Susan Neat, again, is teaching a really amazing class on for November. It's going to be all about gratitude. We'll be continuing some world work, and so be prepared for some really wonderful gratitude practices and some meditation. If you have questions or want more information about that, it's all on our website. And the last bit I want to share with you is, if you have not met with a practitioner, we have 14 amazing practitioners here, and they're just waiting for you to ask for some spiritual help, and we are here to treat for you. We're here if you'd like to meet and have a little bit longer of a session and talk about what's going on in your life. You can also find that on our website. and you can get that information so that we can reach out. We are here for you. We are here for you. And so on this wonderful Halloween, I was thinking about what this holiday is, and like, I like to celebrate things, but I'm not into being scared. So then I was thinking about like the lighter like Halloween things. So I was like, oh, Scooby-Doo. Like, I like Scooby-Doo. Like, that's, spooky, but like I can handle it. And then I remembered we used to watch this show called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And so what I liked about this show was that it was like just the right amount of scariness where it was like, ooh, like I'm a little bit nervous, but it always had like a happy ending. Kind of like Scooby-Doo, right? So the similarities are that there was something that we're scared of, but then like you unmask and you're like, oh, it's like a person. And there's like more to this story. Or in Are You Afraid of the Dark, it was kind of similar, like there was more to the story. So then I was thinking, in my life, where I have fear, where is there more to the story? And not just more to the story in like the little R reality of what's happening here, but what's there more to the story in God's whole story? So if I was like looking at my life and I'm filming in, where can I zoom out so I can see the bigger picture? So I invite you today to think about in your life where you have fear. Where can we zoom out? Where is there more to the story? Where maybe are you adding in a little bit of the story that maybe doesn't need to be there? Where can we let in a little bit more truth? How can we let in that light so we're not sitting in that darkness? So as we move into the rest of our service today, I invite you to consider those things. And happy Halloween.
Thank you, Stephanie. When I give to you, then I give to me. When I give to you, then I give to me. When I give to you, when I give to me. There's grace in you, then there's grace in me. When there's grace in you, then I give to me. When there's light in you, then there's light. There's light in you, then there's light in me, then there's light in me.
Good morning. I'm Damaris, Otero-Torres, and as you can see, I'm the sommelier, the official sommelier for today's service. So, sommelier of what? Well, of course, for spiritual mind treatments. Not alcoholic, but if you want some tequila, you can have it on your own. Anyway, today I'm the head leader of all the practitioners here, and as Stephanie said, we're here for you. We are here to help you recognize that divine splendor within and help you recognize what are those false beliefs that are still lurking in the consciousness, maybe scaring you a little bit about not recognizing that divine identity that we all are. So, our services, of course, are free of charge and in complete confidentiality. So if you have anything that's weighing you down, please reach out to a practitioner and we'll be happy to help you, again, release that divine splendor. As I was preparing for today's contemplative moment, all of a sudden I decided to leap forward to December 31st. This year, as in the past 2 years, we will be conducting the World Healing Meditation. What do we do that day? My spiritual mentor and teacher, John Randolph Price, 35 years ago, created this global event in which people from all over the world join in at 12 Greenwich time. So for us in the East Coast would be at 7 o'clock in the morning to join in this prayer meditation for the healing of the planet, for the healing of the consciousness of the planet. So 3 years ago, John, Susan, and myself, as part of our training, decided to bring this event to this center. And the first year we were able to do it in person. Last year we did it via Zoom. This year we will be doing it via Zoom as well. The good thing is that you can be in your PJs and nobody knows. And it's a great thing because it's a wonderful opportunity to start the new year in that consciousness of love. Start the new year in that consciousness that we are the love that needs to go out into the world. We're called to be nothing more than that love, to be that center of life. And everything starts with us. So we would love to have you. We will open the doors like we did the Zoom doors. At 6:40, we will start sharply at 6:45 a.m. So this would not interfere with your plans for a wonderful New Year's Eve celebration. And we will end by 7:15, 20 past 7. So we like it short, to the point, and, again, release you or let you release that divine splendor. Which brings me to, my third point, which is that in that 1 week, December 31st, you will all be receiving the letters you wrote a year ago. And interestingly enough, the funny thing about being a practitioner, being a member of this community, is recognizing firsthand how the one mind works. I did not share with anybody what I was going to say today. And as I'm seated there waiting for the service to start, Gary brings in the prayer box to Stefanie, who would be treating for everyone this month. So everything has been connected, and it's so cool to see these unfold. So anyway, so I was going to talk about that. How are you doing with those goals, with those dreams? And to be quite honest, the answer is perfect, because we are standing in the presence of God, so nothing can go bad. It's basically a point to pivot and say, oh, there's more letting in that I need to do. And guess what? The practitioners are here to help you with that. So on that note, yesterday I decided to do some research, and I put the word complete. Actually, I went in the index of the textbook, and I found this treatment written by Ernest Holmes that I would like to share with you, and it's called The Eternal Completion. So I will read this treatment. We'll go into a very short meditation, and then I will end with a short treatment again. Okay? So it reads, substance and supply exist eternally in the Father's house. Happiness, health, success are native to the heavenly house, and God Himself shall be our host. More we could not ask, more could not be given than that which has been given from the foundations of the universe. Discord, misery, and unhappiness are the result of a misuse of our true nature, the result of ignorance. Ignorance of the law excuses no one from its effects. But knowledge clothes us in the seamless robe, while wisdom puts the ring of completion on our finger, and understanding feeds us with the good of the land. No one who has tried this has failed. It would be impossible to do so. If any have thought that they have failed, let them realize that somewhere they have fallen short of the divine calling. The truth cannot fail, for it is God, the absolute and unconditional one, who is the truth. Let us no longer fight the old. Let us no longer remember that we were on the outer rim. Let us not forget the past and live in the eternal present of God's happy smile. I love that phrase. Today is good. Tomorrow will be even better. And that vista of tomorrows that stretches down the bright eternities of the endless future will be all good. For the nature of reality cannot change. So, in that consciousness, I would like to invite you to take a deep cleansing breath and let the chair support you wherever you're seated. And for a few seconds, allow your breath to guide you to the place within you that knows that it knows. That one place is filled with the wisdom of the one presence. No mysteries, no doubts, no uncertainties. God's supply is readily available to you right here, right now. Do you accept this gift? God's guidance directs every step of your way. Do you accept God's partnership? God's love emboldens your soul, inspiring you, cheering you on. Do you trust that the one presence that first envisioned the dreams of your heart is also supporting you to bring these dreams to fruition? Completion is a radical song of surrendering and trusting the divine. There is nothing but the love of God and the life of God expressing back of every idea in the universe. There is an infinite substance created by the one mind and released to the universe so that each one's hands can mold it, can bring the eternity into the now moment, into its fullest expression. And in that consciousness, I say that this word is for everyone listening, whether here at the Masonic Temple or out there in the world, for everyone that wishes to find a community like this one, and that trust that spirit is actually guiding each one to find their spiritual home. There's absolutely nothing outside of the recognition that the one presence, the one power, the one life is all there is. And in recognizing that each one here is completely immersed in that sea of love, in that life, everything that has been envisioned by each one here is meant to be fulfilled. There are no buts, there are no ifs, there's only the life, the light of God expressing. And as each one here recognizes that that infinite mind is present in their lives, there's nothing but joy, there's nothing but enthusiasm, there's nothing but a big relief in knowing that whatever one has dreamed is there as a gift of spirit. There is simply nothing more to know. It is that yes, what spirit is waiting to simply release that law that takes care of every single detail. Nothing else is needed. That yes, yes, yes feeling, knowing that every time one says yes, whatever we carry in our heart, whatever we desire is completed. That is the law. And in that law, each one here recognizes that she or he are completely ready to let spirit transform their lives into what God envisioned them to be. I know this word is in the law, and I release it to the law, knowing that God is good and the law is doing its mighty work. And so it is. Amen.
Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God is so much more than the earth and the stars are all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as you so oh God, I stand for you. Here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my right, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. God needs us to shine its light in me as you so use me. Oh God, for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do.
right, there we go. Okay, so good morning out there. Let me see, hello to who else has come on, Robert and Angela, good to see you, as well as Clee, Arlene, and Joe. Okay, so glad you've all checked in and said hi. And we have more in the audience than in our virtual audience, more in our live audience, and I think I counted 10 practitioners in the room. So, keep those prayer requests coming in because we've got spiritual power here, and we can use these practitioners for our second mode of receiving supply. We are doing a series on prosperity from the book Wells of Abundance. It's a little book by E.V. Ingraham, old book written in 1928, I believe, and 1938. And so I notice a lot of his terminology we've refined and we've gotten clearer about than when he was writing back then. And this particular mode of receiving or experiencing supply, the law of force, he calls it. I think that in today's world, we would use a different word than force, because even he explains, I don't mean that kind of force. So before we get into that, he gives us 7 different ways, modes, he calls them, that life experiences the divine supply. And 2 weeks ago, in our first, in this series, we talked about the law of absorption. It's receiving. And instead of just unconsciously absorbing whatever environment is around us, and just absorbing that environment, we might absorb fear, we might absorb worry, we might absorb, mass mind group think, whatever's going on there. We have been given the assignment, anybody remember that? To choose the environment that we want to absorb, to actually surround ourselves with an environment that we want to absorb. So absorption is receiving, but consciously choosing what to receive. And I will admit, I did practice this. However, it's looked like the only time I remembered to practice it when I was driving my car through nature. I'd be driving along the canal here in the central Jersey area. We have a canal and a towpath and rivers and all these beautiful trees. And as I drive along it in the autumn with the leaves changing, every single time I would remember, oh, that's right, I need to absorb this beauty and this color. And so I would be driving going, oh, yes, I just drink it in and let the sun shine and drink it in. And so I was very good on nice, beautiful days. And so on the cloudy days that we've had, I will admit, I completely forgot about the law of absorption and just absorbed the gray and the fog and, felt kind of clunky. But that's okay. Practice makes perfect. We don't need to perfectly practice in order to start. So for all those moments of driving, when I absorbed the beauty that was around me and just accepted it for myself, received it for myself, I am better, I am blessed, and I'm ready for mode number 2, which is today. Because one of the things he says is we need to receive. We've got to get that one handled before we start practicing any of the other activities. Because if you're not receiving, then what are you practicing everything else about? It's like, shooting a bunch of arrows and then not receiving the good, that's going to come with it. So we have to know how to receive. We have to realize that most of our receiving is unconscious. And we want to bring an awareness to it so we do not unconsciously absorb all the horror movies that are going on right now. We want to absorb what we're choosing to absorb. And then by surrounding yourself with an environment that is what you want to receive, you can then relax. and unconsciously receive it. You don't have to work so hard. You just, for those of you who are trying to change any habit that you have, I've learned that it's much easier to change a habit I have if I change my environment to support the new habit I want to practice. So I don't have to remember, I don't have to remind myself. So for this law of absorption, I could have, if I thought about it, thought about something to remind me at other times than when I was driving around the great state of New Jersey. So, so you arrange your environment to support you in receiving what you're choosing to receive, or to support your habit that you want to add to your life. They recommend, many spiritual teachers recommend that you create a sacred place in your home, and that this sacred place that you're creating is an environment of every good thing you want to absorb, including the truth. And so it took me decades of hearing this. Yeah, whatever. God is everywhere. I don't need to have a place. That, and I was a minister here, I will admit it, that I finally said, let me try this thing. And so I created a sacred place and consciously chose what to put on the table, what room it was in, what would be around it, consciously made those choices. And so now whenever I'm anywhere near that place, I can absorb that. It reminds me, oh yeah, let's do some spiritual work. Oh yeah, let's read a spiritual book. It invites me. So it's a way of making life easier for yourself. Instead of having an environment that drags on you and makes you feel horrible, you create an environment that supports you the way you are. So say you can't remember your keys, and you're always losing your keys all over your house. Well, that was me years and years ago. And what did I do? I bought a key holder and put it next to the door and hang my keys there. What an idea. I come in the house, I hang the key. It doesn't go scattering everywhere. It's there, always, because that's its spot. I made it easier for me, who likes to wander around and drop things all over the place. Okay, so anyway, that's the law of absorption. Today we're learning the law of force, he calls it. It's the second plane of supply. And so this is not about, I wrote it in the notes. What does he say? It's not a matter of exercising the will or driving the flesh to get outer results. So that's not the definition of force that he's using. However, what he talks about is these planes or these modes of supply are operative everywhere, and we are always using them. So the law of absorption was the way plants receive their good, and they only receive their good through absorption. Animals receive their good through absorption, but also through force. And at that animal level of understanding, he says that this, materially considered, it belongs to the carnivorous animals who get their supply by forcefully taking it from others. In most cases, they prey upon the lesser beast themselves. So that's this law of force, or this mode of force, is another way we receive our supply. But as human beings, if we are to operate solely on that material level, operating at force, right? He writes, when this law of supply is employed by the human being, that person descends to the animal plane and becomes the thief, the robber, the grafter, the racketeer, the extortionist, the user. By force, cunning, deception, or advantage, this person preys upon those who have. This person is not intelligent enough to use their own skill and talents to produce for themselves, devotes all the energy to getting what others have produced. And so we can see that in ourselves, maybe. I want what you have. You've got that good. I want your good. And what he is saying, we can operate at that level, just like we can operate at that level of absorption and just absorb whatever's around us, being a victim of everything. But we can also then operate at this animal level and just take and think, I can only get my good by taking it from you. And maybe we're too civilized to actually take it from others, but we want to. And so jealousy and envy is an indicator that you want to take from someone else. If you wish you had what someone else had, that's a nice way of saying it, right? But it's really as a clue that we're not operating at a higher level. So we can operate and use this law of force at that animal level, or we could use it at the mental level, where we try to figure out how to earn and work and get stuff done and get the good that we want. And that can occupy a whole lot of our human time, right? Trying to figure out, well, if I do this, I do this. I was talking with a friend on Friday. I saw this job opportunity become available, and I thought, wow, I'm perfectly qualified for this job. If I work at this job solid for 5 years, I'll be set up for retirement for life. I can do anything I want. The only problem is, I would absolutely hate the job. And I'm not completely confident that I would actually even be able to get it done, because I hate it so much. And also, I've already had that job, and I left it because I hated it. So that's mental level of trying to, use my effort, use my willpower, use my mind to get something. And what is it that I want to get? Right? More supply. So maybe I should listen to Ingraham here. He says, descending to a plane beneath the human status exacts its terrific toll. That's bad. For the law of compensation is exact. When we operate at that animal level, we lose our peace of mind, our sense of security, our liberty, and sometimes even our lives itself. And we lose our own self-respect, because we know we're divine beings on some level. We know that there's something that is higher, that is calling us, but we're not taking advantage of it. We're not operating it. So he says, and I said this last week, humans being a replica of the universe, the image and likeness of God, we have something of every plane within us. And so the application of these laws must be according to our high estate, that spiritual truth of us. And so now the law of force is really very simple. He says human beings too easily surrender to the apparent, to the facts, right? To the obvious, to our mood. I surrender to my mood all the time. I'm in a bad mood. Well, then I can't do anything. I'm not in the mood to run. Well, then I don't run, right? And he says a little positive assertion is often all that is necessary to turn the tide of events. And sometimes a more enduring persistence is necessary. But the tide must be turned if we are to rise into the realm of creative beings where we belong. In other words, this whole idea of abundance recognizes that we are creative beings, and that we need, what we would say today is some affirmations of truth, some reminders, positive thinking. It's so basic, right? If you're in this teaching, oh yeah, the power of positive thinking, oh yeah, right? Let's just say something good, don't say the negative, da da da. Yeah, it's so easy, but it's necessary. We're already aware of receiving and through absorption what is around us, and then we need to add this activity of asserting the truth to ourselves. So for our 10 practitioners and equal in number and plus 5 of people who are in this teaching and who know, right, trained minds, we need to use the fact that our minds are trained. We need to use them daily. We need to use them all the time. We need to stand in our truth. We need to remind ourselves. And his spiritual practice is an affirmation. To say to yourself, God is my supply. So to that little self of me on Friday that was imagining taking on this job and struggling and toiling for 5 years, if I could get through it, which I have every bit of evidence that I wouldn't be able to, given that I've done it and I hate it and I quit. All that effort, instead of all of that twisting yourself to get something, assert the spiritual truth. God is my supply. And so whatever it is that I think I want, which is supply, God is the source of it. And so assertion, I would call it the law of assertion rather than the law of force. It is a bit of an effort to keep reminding yourself of spiritual truth, especially when you're not feeling it. He goes on to talk about it is exerting the will to the point of complete reliance upon God as not only the source but the supply itself. And faith is a much greater force than the will. But if you don't have the faith, you use the will. Will is only efficient when used to awaken or conform to faith. So we use the assertion or the affirming of spiritual truth to awaken our faith. And when we've got the faith, we're ready to absorb. We're ready to receive. We're open. But that work we sometimes have to do, right? When we doubt and you're looking at the bank account anytime I think about my future, let's face it, I go into, oh my gosh. And I have to say to myself, an affirmation, I have to say, that which has brought me this far will bring me the rest of the way. Yeah, right? What this divine that has taken such great care of me, really, with, in my opinion, given all that, quote, I should be doing, the little that I do, thank you, God. That something, given my innocence and my ignorance and my moods and my I don't wannas and my struggles and my fights and my, oh yeah, I gotta get back on the road or whatever. Or yeah, God, I'm taking care. I mean, all that I do, and I've done the gamut and still am. The very little effort I have done has taken care of me. Has taken care of me when I was an atheist, has taken care of me when I was surrounded by ugliness or evil, has taken care of me when, through my own bad choices, I've made a mess. Colossal mess, headline messes, been there. I've been taken care of. That which has brought me this far will certainly take me the rest of the way. And given that I'm even a little bit more cooperative, it will really do a better job of taking me the rest of the way. You know, at least I'm a little bit more on its side. I'm a little more cooperating. But that's what spiritual practice does for us. And that spiritual practice of asserting truth until we have that faith is all that is necessary to experience supply in a greater way. And the only effort we have to do is until we've got the faith. That's very little. I mean, but it might require, right? He says it might be a little positive assertion. One of the things that seems to work for me is if I ever get scared, it's Halloween. So this morning, I was awake, sitting on my couch in the complete dark, doing my little spiritual work, and I'm hearing these little noises around me. I have a cat. Where is the cat? Is the cat making these little noises around me? I hope. And I went there because a part of me knew my cat was upstairs. So then what's making the little noises all around me? And I could have turned on the light. I could have, well, I did yell, Sophie, where are you? But of course she's not answering. She's a cat. And so I asserted. First I said, don't go there, right? There is no boogeyman under the bed, right? Don't go there in your thinking, and know all is good around me. I forgot about it. Don't know what it was. Don't need to know. God is there, the all good. So sometimes just a little bit of assertion will work. So I had that this morning. But sometimes you need to have a more enduring persistence. He refers to the story in the Bible of Jacob wrestling with the angel. Sometimes we've got to really dig in our heels and demand to receive our blessing. And so while Jacob was wrestling with the angel, first of all, what is he wrestling with? He's wrestling with his higher self, but all his fears and his worries and that habit of thought and emotion and all of that negative stuff within him, that's what he was wrestling with. But he was saying to the angel, I will not let you go until I receive my blessing. And that's what we do with this law of assertion. We claim spiritual truth and we say, I am going to stand on this spiritual truth, whether I believe it or not, whether I feel it or not, whether I agree with it or not, whether I understand it or not, whether it's showing up or not. I'm going to agree, I'm going to stand on it, which might be just, I'm going to keep saying it until I believe it. Sometimes we have to do that, right? Anybody in the audience ever have to do that? Right? They're all nodding their heads. Yeah. And still doing it, right? And you're like, how many years, decades do I still have to do it? Well, you have to do it until you get it. That's it. And so you don't have to do this. It's not a bad thing. You're not a bad person if you don't do it. You just have to wait longer to get your good. That's all. We're the only ones who suffer by not receiving our supply from God. And that's what he says, is that he tells us, dare to trust, dare to rely, dare. When everything is a mess, when people are screaming and running in the streets, and we just had that, screaming and running away from the streets, I guess is what we had, right? Past couple years, it's like, people, they might have something, right? The cooties fear, right? And to dare, despite all that and what everybody's saying, dare to demand your health supplied from God. Dare to demand it. It takes daring, right? So dare to trust, to rely, dare to have faith that God is your instant and manifest supply even when you cannot see it. And so especially, Dr. Ernest Holmes, right, said, he who deserts the truth in their hour of need proves that he does not know the truth. Reverend Jackie, is that right? Reverend Jackie's here. It's her favorite passage. And it's in all bold, right? All caps. Because what is the teaching of the science of mind when everything in your life is wonderful? Science of mind, the guts of science of mind, isn't for really much for you when you're in the flow. When you flow, you're in the flow. You're aware that all is well, everything is flowing. There's not, science of mind is like, yeah, okay, right, no, it's good, great, whatever. Science of mind its strength is really when you don't know it. When everything is a mess, it's a disaster. And then you're like, okay, now maybe I should do a treatment. Which brings us to using our practitioners, is daring. When you ask a practitioner to treat for you, you are daring to trust in God. And that practitioner is going to be able to know the truth for you with complete conviction because, basically it's not their issue, not their problem, right? Your issue is yours. They don't have it, so they're like, oh, sure, I'll know the truth, whatever, no problem, right? We do that really well. And that's why we use practitioners when we've got a problem. All right, I need you to know for me because I'm in, hell. So the thing is that the science of mind teaching is about positive assertion. When we don't know the truth, when everything is a mess, when we've totally screwed up, when Job said, behold, the things I have feared have come upon me. That's when we need to assert the truth. And so he says, here's our homework for our week 2. So for the past 2 weeks, we practiced the law of absorption. And you'll do it more, right? Now that you're, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, and now we're going to do learn the law of assertion. Learn to reach out into the universe. Absorb all that it naturally radiates toward you. Okay, so that was week 1. Once the sense of its abundance awakens in you, a great hunger for more will also awaken. Then you will wrestle with the wealth that is there for you until it is visibly manifest in your mind, body, and affairs. The wealth of the universe is yours. Take it. The timid seldom arrive at great fulfillment. Right? How many of us were taught to be modest? Oh no, God, you're busy. If you've got some time, if you could work this little thing out here for me, I would be greatly appreciated. But if not, I understand because, I want to save all that you have, all the good that you have allotted for me, all the time that you've allotted to help me in my life. Let's save it for when I've got a really big problem, right? Have you ever thought like that? And right, the perfect answer for that is anyone who thinks that God is too busy to work for your problem does not understand what infinite means. Okay? So, the bold, know the thrill and realization of the abundance of God. And so, the law of force or the law of assertion is being bold. It's looking at what you've got and you're like, there's no abundance here, but my abundance comes from God. My supply comes from God, and I'm going to stand here and know it until I see it. And I'm just going to assert it morning, noon, and night until I see it. This is boldness. This is an activity. It requires some energy, but not as much energy as, trying to, work for 5 years and, with something that you hate in order to whatever. This is assuming, I'm still thinking about that job, right? Work for 5 years really hard, get all this extra money, get myself all set. It's assuming that I'll be able to survive it. And it's also assuming they won't fire me. Because with the kind of attitude I would have, they would. And rightly so, right? Okay. So to rely upon God. With God, all things are possible. In God, there is always a way. That which brought me this far will bring me the rest of the way. These kinds of truths we stand on. And so our homework for this week is, again, he says, first, absorb the beauty, the wealth, the abundance that is around us, and then fill up with it, and then begin asserting the greater good, the greater supply that you desire to experience. And so let's contemplate that right now while Reverend Rich regales us in another song. Regale away.
Is that what I'm doing here?
Yes, you're regaling.
You're regaling. I celebrate my abundance today by giving this gift. I show my faith as I open my heart. My world becomes a better place. I release all fear as I share gratefully. The love that I give always gives back to me. Knowing my oneness with everything else, I know that all that I am, I give to myself. I celebrate my abundance today by giving this gift. I show my faith as I open my heart. My world becomes a better place. I release all fear as I share gratefully. The love that I give always gives back to me. Knowing my oneness with everything else, know that all that I am, I give to myself.
Yes. So once again, to complete here, I'd like to read for all of us this meditation from Ingraham. And again, it's in the I, first person, so just know that this is true for you. I arise and go on to my Father's house, where there is enough and to spare. I refuse to be drawn into the entangling illusion of appearances. I dare to risk my all to the sustaining power of God who created me. If I am a created being, the power that created me must be the source of all that I am and have. If source, it must be the life, the substance, and sustaining power of my whole being. My supply then is immediately at hand and instantly available to me. I wrestle with the unalterable fact that God is my supply until I see it, feel it, and know it. Nothing matters to me now but the comprehension, the knowing of this fact. I apply myself to it day by day. I pursue it in all that I say, think, and do. Awake or asleep, my whole being constantly and intently pursues the truth until I possess it in the secret depths of my own soul. When I sufficiently know this fact in my own soul, then I shall equally know its manifestation in my outer affairs. God is my supply. The spirit and substance of abundance fills me and surrounds me. It feeds my flesh, revives my mind, restores my soul. It fires me with renewed power and creative ability, and I am aroused in the might and power of the inner spirit. Wealth of heaven and earth is mine, and I am rich in the priceless knowledge that all that the Father hath is mine. And so it is. Reverend Rich. All right, everybody. So good morning, Arlene, Joe, hello, Selena, good to see you. And Catherine's here, Michael. All right, I think I've got you all. All right, so we're done, over and out. See you next week. Have a great, abundant week.